Welcome. My name is Eric Smith. I'm going to spend a little bit of time with you here just to kind of share some information with you about our company, our mission, who we are, what we do, how this information can really benefit your loved ones, those that you truly care about. Because some of these lessons that we're going to go over, these concepts that we aren't really taught in school. So just appreciate you taking the time, out of your day, whatever time of day it is for you. And I know you're watching this recording. I do know a couple of things about you, though. Because you are here, you must have been somewhat upset with what's been going on in the world as far as corporate America, your business, your life, to take the time to look at something like this. The reason why I say that is because most people are, if they're comfortable where they are with the status quo, what they're doing, they rarely look at an opportunity and some information that could benefit their loved ones, could benefit themselves, to put them on a better path in life, to give back, to inspire those in their family, to contribute to something greater than themselves. Because if you're here, you're taking the time to do this when you could be doing some other things. You could be watching television. You could be, on your phone doing some apps. Quite frankly, you could be actually on your phone watching this. So just I really appreciate you taking the time. Just want to spend a few minutes with your undivided attention. I know those texts, those emails, those everything does have its place, but I really truly appreciate you spending a few minutes uninterrupted to go over some of these concepts that we're going to go over with you today. Like I mentioned, my name is Eric Smith. Welcome. The person who shared this video with you must truly care about you and your future and what great things for you as well, because they would not just share this with any old body. Most people think that they would, but quite frankly, we don't want to waste our time, your time, everyone else's time. We want to truly maximize the time we have because we don't know how much time we have left. So we don't know what's promised to us. So we want to spend the most amount of time we can doing something that's going to benefit ourselves and those, like I mentioned earlier, those that we truly care about. So, like I said, you could be watching this on your phone. So I'm going to share with you my computer here to kind of share a kind of an interesting little tidbit here. Some of those you're probably wondering, what is that on the top left? I've never seen anything like that in my life. What is that? Some other you get a little chuckle, right? You're like, oh yeah, of course I know what that is. I used to use the phone in my house, my parents' house, my grandparents' house. I used to have that long cord where I'd be on the phone and I could stretch it across the room and I would start to dial, my friend's phone number back when everyone memorized each other's phone numbers, back in those days, right? So remember that rotary phone where you start to dial the number, you're like, do, 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 and then you do another one, do, 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 and then you're doing it and you're like, oh, I messed up. You got to hang up and then pick it back up and start all over again. Do, 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 do. We all remember that, right? That rotary phone. And then the other picture, like, what is that? Where you're turning the dial on your radio, right? Your radio, you kind of carry it around and listen to your favorite radio station, and you'd have a party with those who you loved. Also the television, right? The television when we were the remotes, right? If we were growing up as kids, parents wanted us to change the channel. There was no such thing as a remote control. We were the remote. We'd have to walk up, change the channel, or bang the TV. If the reception wasn't really good and we had the antenna, we'd kind of stretch it. I know we remember those days. Some of you are like, I have no idea what he's talking about. Remember those Polaroid cameras? Those cameras, that Walkman, those computers, right? Why am I showing you these devices? Well, just like all of these things have changed, same thing with our industry. The financial services industry has changed for the better. It's gotten better, it's upgraded, right? Because if we think about, that phone, that radio, that TV, the camera, the music we listen to, the Walkman with those cassette tapes that if you had to take a little pencil eraser and kind of like when it kind of came out, when you played it over and over and over again, you kind of had to like wire and make sure everything kind of lined up. You put that cassette in, and those computers, we remember those. Well, look at this, our smartphone. Like I said, some of you are literally, watching this on your phone right now. So our smartphone, can do all of these different things. It has all of those things that we could do, whether it's make that phone call, whether it's listen to music, whether it is texting, right? All these applications, our camera, our computer, all of that is on our phone. I heard this little tidbit of information that there's more computing power in our phone, right? In this thing today than there was that put men on the moon with NASA. That's that kind of blew my mind away, right? So like I said, just like the phone, everything else has upgraded and gotten better over time. So why you're really like, Eric, well, what does this have to do with anything? Well, like I said, there's this huge opportunity right now just where we can even work on our phone, doing the things that we want to do our business, where we don't have to worry about time and spending, quality time with our loved ones and our family. And do we have to work, in an actual office setting? Do we have to travel for work? Well, we can do whatever it is that we want to do from the comfort of our phone. Our phone can be used for everything. It can be used for running a company, running a business. And this opportunity kind of blend that together with our industry, the financial services industry, over $100 trillion industry. You can more than double the combination of real estate and retail together, right? This opportunity in the financial services industry, where there's a huge need, but the baby boomers are the largest wealth transfer over these next 25 or so years, with money being transferred from baby boomers to Gen X and millennials, right? And most millennials aren't sure they have student loan debt. Same thing with Gen X's. It's like, we got student loan, we're not really saving. What do we do? Well, that's where we come in as a firm to help people figure out when they want to stop working for money, because they can make their money work for them, so they don't have to work so hard for their money. And so those are some of the things that we learn about, we teach, that we have not learned about, going up in high school and college and all of these different things, where there's not many schools that require financial education. And so that's why we are really here with this huge need. And so things that we love to go over and talk about, if you're taking notes, pull out a sheet of paper, pause this if you need to, get a pen, take a few notes on a couple of things here that are quite important. And so a couple of things here I just want to share with you that's really going to help build financial independence, right? Cash flow. If you think about cash flow, most of us, we need to earn a little extra income. We want more money to come in to do, like I said, do the things we want to do. We want to travel more. We want to take another vacation. We want to be able to send our kids to the school that they want to go to. We want to be able to pay for the activities for our kids. If our kids are playing soccer, if our kids are playing basketball, doing karate, maybe they're doing gymnastics, whatever it is they're doing that they love, that we want to give to them, provide for them, give them those opportunities to express what they love to do, their creativity. That's where that additional income, that cash flow comes in. So we work with people. If you want to learn more about that, we can go into that. If you want to earn some additional income, there's an opportunity there. Emergency fund. Well, we got to build up that emergency fund. Most people don't have $1,000 saved up in case of an unexpected expense. We throw it on the credit card. That's the default. We throw it on the credit card, pay that interest. Well, we need to be paying ourselves and building up that emergency fund, so we don't have to worry about, if something were to come up, it's okay. It's unexpected. We can still cover it. Debt management. I read somewhere everyone has about, on average, obviously some have more, some have less, but 13 different obligations of debt, where it's credit card, could be student loan, it could be personal loan, it could be mortgage, it could be car loan, it could be all of these different things, where we have 13 Debt obligations. Well, some people they're drowning in debt. And so what do we do? Well, how do we help them? Well, there's these different programs we have available that can provide that ability to help them manage that debt and even eliminate that debt, work with these different programs to, get rid of that debt in half the time if possible, if they qualify for these different plans. Proper protection. Most people think that, our home is our biggest asset, right? Our home, they think that our home, our car, those are the things that we spend the most money on, our biggest assets. Well, who pays for your home? Who pays for your car? Who pays for all of these things that we have? You do. So what do you want? You want to make sure that you have proper protection in case something were to happen. We want to make sure those bills are paid. Everything is covered. We have homeowners insurance. We have renters insurance, car insurance. They're mandated. Well, we have to protect against loss of income. Want to build wealth. Want to outpace inflation, reduce taxes, and preserve and transfer that wealth, leave that legacy. Those are the 6 steps of financial independence. If you want to learn more about all these different ones, make a note of which ones you want to, is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it 6? Maybe it's 1 and 4. Maybe it's 1 and 5. Maybe it's 1 and 6. Maybe it's 2 and 4. Whatever the combination is, make a note of this, and we will make sure to, help provide you with the information that's going to help you. The retirement system, call it the 3-legged stool. If you think about these different legs on the stool, we have Social Security. Not sure how you feel about Social Security and what's going to happen with these changes possibly over these next, especially 10 years, if something were, does not happen, who knows where we're going to be. Pensions, pensions. Not sure if you have a pension. Pension used to be the dream if you think about it, right? Maybe our parents, our grandparents have or had a pension where the company they worked for would pay them a certain percentage of their salary that they were earning for the rest of their life, even though they're no longer working there. Now, if you think about it from a business standpoint, does it really make sense to pay somebody 20, 30, possibly even 40 years after they're no longer working for you to pay them, even though they're no longer providing, services for your business? It really doesn't from a business standpoint, right? So that's why companies have really done away with pensions, and they've transferred the risk with 401ks and 403bs and all these other retirement plans. So unless we work, maybe we're a teacher, or maybe work for the government or firefighter, police, where we have access to a pension, most companies don't provide that anymore. Personal savings. If we think about as a country in the United States here, do we really save or do we really spend our money? We've got everything, right? We've got Amazon, we've got all these different things where you could literally, by the time we're done talking here, you can have someone come pick you up and take you somewhere. You can also have someone deliver you food. You can actually do that right now with we're spending like crazy. We have these apps on our phone, like I was talking about earlier, where we can do so many different things, where we can spend money so quickly as well. Now, mention retirement, right? If we look at retirement, what that really means, most people, if you ask them, what's retirement to you? Think of this to yourself. Maybe take a moment, pause, think of to yourself, what does retirement mean to you? Well, most people say, I'm going to retire when I'm 65 or 70 or 66, 67, when I'm full Social Security age, something like that. Well, retirement, we work so hard, we work, save, we invest and grow our money. We reach this mountain, right? And so retirement, we get to the top of whatever that mountain is, but we need to come down the mountain safely, right? I don't know if you're a skier, maybe you're a skier or not, some people love the double black diamonds where you have, all these hills and moguls and everything you're going down. You're like, could be thrilling. But when it comes to retirement, do you want to go down that way where you could trip and fall and stumble down very quickly, or maybe kind of cruising down like the bunny slope, maybe something like that? Well, how do we come down safely? What does retirement mean? Well, what retirement means, or financial independence for some people, is where our passive income is greater than our expenses. So it doesn't necessarily mean an age, it's an income. So that for some people that could be 50, for some people that could be 40, for some people that could be 30 or even 25 or 20, depending on what they're doing, depending on how they're earning income. If maybe they are an athlete, maybe they, are an entertainer where they produced movies or music or something like that, where they've gotten royalties and they have the recurring income that come, they get those royalty checks. That passive income is just coming in all the time. Maybe something like that. Doesn't matter what age they are. It just matters that they get that coming in every single month or every single year. So how much money per month do you need to cover your expenses? Well, if we look at some different ways as far as income or potential passive income sources are, we have, like I mentioned, that Social Security, that pension, could be some real estate for some people, could be their real estate income. What are some other ways that we have some retirement accounts that could generate passive income? Could be that 401k, that 403b, an IRA, Roth, individual retirement account. Could be some mutual funds if you have money in the market, or some stocks or things like that. Those could lead to passive income, but they are not actually passive income themselves. They just have to be structured in a proper way. So you can pause here for a second. You're like, wow, Eric, that's kind of interesting. I want to learn more about that. Make a note of that, and then reach out to the person that shared this video with you and say, hey, I want to learn more about how to generate more passive income from things that I already have. Like, could be those retirement accounts. Make a note of that. Could be money in the bank. If you think about it, if we have money in our CDs, our savings accounts, money market accounts, and think about the interest that you're earning on those accounts. Well, if you think about inflation, maybe if you're getting point something, whatever point something is, if we think about it, is that really beneficial for us? If we're getting point something interest on those savings accounts or on those CDs, well, if you think about it, we're actually going broke safely because our money is worth less today than it is in the future, because we're not outpacing inflation. So how do we convert these to income streams? That's something that we can learn more about. These are some of the companies that we work with. With our division, with Transformation Financial, we are partnered with so many different companies out there. We don't work with just one particular company. We work with many different companies. We're not just putting everyone in the same thing. We don't, wear the same size clothes. We don't wear the same size shoe. Every single thing that we do, we customize and tailor make to the individual. If you see, I'm sure you're well aware of some of these companies like Prudential, like Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, could be Voya, could be Nationwide, right? The jingle, you're thinking of it, probably singing it to yourself. All of these different companies, they don't attach themselves to just any old person or any old company. Their name, it's all about their branding, right? So these are some of the companies that we are in business with and we can help families with. I want to point out something really quickly. This company called Everest, that top left on the screen there. Funeral concierge. There's nothing out there like this, where they will take care of all of the arrangements for the loved ones. Maybe this is something for you. Maybe if you recently planned a funeral for a loved one, right? Or maybe you're a part of the planning process. Maybe you saw a loved one plan a funeral and you saw what they went through, and try to make decisions, like think about, oh my goodness, I'm not really sure what they would have wanted. I had to think back on conversations where I want to share a quick story with you. In August of 2020, during our pandemic, at the end of August, I unfortunately lost my father. So I lost my dad. He couldn't qualify for something as Everest because he had an illness that was similar to Parkinson's. He was diagnosed in 2009, and it prevented him from walking and talking. He just slowly lost his ability to walk and talk. And so my mom actually had to retire to take care of him. And as you know, 2009, wow, that's bad time to retire. That's where she lost a lot of money in her retirement accounts. Fortunately, she has a pension, and I was able to, help her. And that's one of the reasons why I got into this industry. Didn't get into the industry at that time. I was actually in the healthcare field, but something that kind of stuck with me. And maybe when I was shifting careers, that's something that I thought back to, like, wow, what better way can I help and impact people with their money and, educating them. And so I bring this up because we had to plan for my dad's funeral during a pandemic. And so there was my mom, my sisters, two sisters, and myself that were planning this funeral for my dad, thinking back on conversations that we had with him over 10 years ago, because like I said, he lost his ability to walk and talk. We're trying to remember, like, what would he have wanted? What are the important things? What pictures would he have wanted to kind of, illustrate what his life was like? Well, if Everest was there, imagine if he had had Everest in place. We wouldn't have to worry about that. We wouldn't have to make these decisions and trying to talk to the, funeral home and figure out where he's going to go and where he's going to be and where he's going to be laid to rest and all of that. Well, that's where Everest comes in and takes care of all the arrangements on behalf of the family. And so I highlight that because there's no other company in the industry that does that. They go above and beyond. So if you're thinking about, wow, Everest, I kind of like that. Make a note of that, write that down and ask, because you're going to have some questions about a lot of these different things. Well, make a note of this, and then we'd be more than happy to answer those questions for you. A couple of different concepts I want to go over. Call it ABC 1, 2, 3, how our money grows and how our money is taxed. Well, if we look at A, fixed, very, very small, and that savings account, that CD, very limited growth. You don't have to worry about losing anything. There's no changes, no fluctuations, anything like that. Variable, we've got ups and downs that go with the market. Our money's in the market. We could make a lot of money, but we could also lose a lot of money. People lost a lot of money in 2009. People, at the beginning of 2020 with the pandemic, people lost a lot, built it back up. But if you were retiring at those different times, what would that have done to your retirement? And so also there's something called indexed. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of, in the indexing strategy, people have heard of index funds that are where the money's in the market, but it's based off an index. They've heard of that. But the indexing strategy where our money's not in the market, it's just based off the performance of the market. So what happens is we look at the market today, right? And then we look at the market a year from now, and we look at the change over the course of the year. Market goes up, we get the growth. Let's say the following year, the market goes down. Well, we don't have to worry about it because our money's locked in. Our money's not in the market, it's just based off the performance. So it grows like steps. So you're probably like, just like how I was when I first heard this, I was like, whoa, I've never heard of this. Why have I never heard of this? Well, it's not something that's really taught. So that's the major reason. That's why I hadn't heard of it, because people that I knew had never heard of it. And so I was like, whoa, I need to share this with people that I know, because this is something that could change everything for a lot of people. And so then we have tax now. Tax now, if our money, maybe have a 1099, where our money is like we're trading money in the market. We have one of those Robinhood accounts. Maybe we're doing cryptocurrency or foreign exchange, and we have to pay capital gains taxes. So the money starts to grow, which is great, but then we pay taxes. So it gets cut down. Starts to grow a little bit more, gets cut down. It doesn't fully grow and fully compound. Right? Then we have tax later, where it's like our 401k, maybe it's our individual retirement account, it's a 403b deferred compensation, where we don't pay taxes now, but we pay taxes in the future. And if we really think about this, right? Okay, well, our taxes in the future going to go up, go down, or stay the same? If you really want to think about it, I mean, you can feel free to answer this to yourself. Well, probably go up, right? I mean, income taxes, people are like, taxes are already high right now. Well, I mean, they're actually lower than they've been for a while, but we have got trillions and trillions, tens of trillions of dollars in debt as a country. Well, it's got to come from somewhere. So most people would agree that taxes are probably going to go up in the future. So let me pose a question to you. If taxes are going to go up in the future, does it make sense to not pay the taxes now, but pay them in the future when they're at a higher percentage and we have no control over it? Probably not, right? Well, probably better to pay the taxes now so we don't have to worry about paying the taxes in the future. And that's where something like tax advantage comes in. So I'm gonna pose another, imagine this, right? You're a farmer and the government comes to you like, hey, you know, you have this option, okay, as a farmer. You have your penny seeds, okay, you're gonna plant those seeds and they're gonna grow over time, right? So would you rather pay taxes on your penny seeds, or if you grow into this huge harvest, this $1 million, multi-million-dollar harvest, would you rather pay the taxes then? You're probably like, well, I think I'd pay the taxes on those penny seeds. Yeah, well, that's what the tax advantage is. And so the way to kind of tie this whole thing together, imagine we have money in our 401k, and we just look at it from just a tax standpoint. Okay. Now this example, it's based on, it's good. You're going to see it's like 12%. You're like, well, where do you get 12%? Well, one of the companies that we work with, American Funds, one of their mutual funds has been, over the course of 80 plus years, the average rate of return has been 12%. But just think about it from that. It's ideal. Imagine best case scenario. You don't have to worry about the ups and the downs of the market. Ideal scenario. Just want to just share that with you. Disclaimer, not that anything's guaranteed or anything like that. So if we look at the 3 different phases to our deferred compensation plan, as we pay into it, as it grows, and when we pull money out of it. So as we pay into it, imagine someone is paying $500 a month into this plan. And so over the course of a year, it's $6,000. And so just say for example, people paid 30% in income taxes a year, state and federal combined, right? Obviously, depending on where you live, some places are going to be higher, some places are going to be lower. California, one of the highest income tax states, if not the highest. And then maybe Nevada, Texas, or Florida, no state income taxes, right? So you just think of, just for an example, 30% in taxes we pay. So normally we would pay $1,800 every year, right? But we have it in this 401k, we don't have to pay that because it's deferred compensation. We don't pay them now, we defer it, we pay it in the future. And so if we do that over the course of 30 years while we're working, that means overall we save about $54,000. Pretty good, right? So imagine, like I said, this is ideal case scenario. We're doing this consistently for $500 a month, $6,000 a year. We're getting about 12% return. Over the course of 30 years, our money comes out to about $1.8 million. I'm sure you're like, whoa, you can plug it in a financial calculator if it's about 1.7 and some change, but let's say it's 1.8. So if you have $1.8 million, I'll pose another question to you. Would you take all of this out at once, or would you live off a little bit at a time? Some of you like, I want to make this thing last. I want to live, pull out a little bit at a time. Some of you like, just give it all to me now, right? So it's going to vary, but I think most people would say they want to live off a little bit at a time, because we have to make it last. And so let's say we take out about 6% of that a year, it's 108,000. But earlier when I posed the question, what do you think taxes are going to be like in the future? I'm sure we were all saying that it's most likely going to go up. But like I said, this is ideal situation. Keep the taxes the same moving forward. That's $30,000, a little over 30,000. It's like 32,000 and change, because 30% of 108,000 is about 32,000 and some change. But let's keep the math simple. Call it $30,000 a year. Now, if we do this and we live 20 or even 30 years in retirement, that means we pay $900,000 in taxes. Yeah. So pose a question, another question to you. Would you rather pay 54,000 or 900,000? What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on which you would prefer? Probably the 54, right? So what we like to do is show our clients, if they're okay paying the 54, they don't have to worry about paying the 900,000. So one of the ways that we do this, little known fact, little known secret, kind of like the best kept secret of the industry, something called life insurance. I know, life insurance, most people think of death, right? Someone has to die in order for someone to benefit. Some people, they don't really like life insurance, But if we think of the benefit of having life insurance is what? That peace of mind for our loved ones. If something were to happen to us, one of the reasons why I got into this is because I was becoming a father, and I was like, well, I don't want my family to have to do a GoFundMe page, or do like a car wash or a bake sale like I've seen in my family. So I want to make sure I protect my loved ones, my kids. That's what we think of. We think of life insurance as just for that purpose, right? Should be called death insurance. But if people are not buying life insurance, I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to buy death insurance. And so what some really creative people figured out, it's like, okay, maybe we should put money inside of this life insurance policy where we can grow and build cash in a tax efficient way. We could pull money out of it, and the death benefit itself would be 100% income tax free. At the top, you see those different revenue codes with the TAMRA Act and the Ronald Reagan administration in 1986. Those different revenue codes that, updated and changed over the years. So this could happen. And so you're like, well, how could we do that? Well, there's something people call a life insurance retirement plan through what's called an indexed universal life insurance policy. So if you go back to that indexing strategy that we were talking about earlier, that's what that is, that indexing strategy where we don't have to worry about losing our money. And so we have a floor. Not only does it provide that, think of what this does, right? If I were to ask you, let's pause for a second. If I were to ask you, what would happen if you lived too short or you passed away too soon? Well, how would that impact your family? Right? Think of that. Okay. And then think of, okay, what if I lived too long? What if I lived a very long time? How would I live? Like, what could I do to provide for my family, make sure I have enough to live, and I don't have to go back and live with my loved ones and live with my family, or provide, that's where the pension kind of comes in. Or maybe does something do all of this? Another thing is, what if you were to have an illness, like a serious illness, maybe a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, where you couldn't perform, you couldn't get around, you needed help in order to feed yourself or bathe or clothe yourself. Well, how would you do that? I'm sure some of you have had a loved one that needed some assistance. Like I mentioned, myself and my father, we didn't have any things like that would cover that. So my mom had to pay out of pocket for a lot of his care. Some things were covered through Medicare, but for someone to come in and help out, make sure he was clothed and all the different things and fed and changed and bathed and Well, that cost money. So someone had to pay for it. Well, what if that were to, maybe this happened to your loved one? Maybe it happened to um, a parent of yours or a grandparent, and you saw your parents go through it. Maybe it happened to a spouse, your spouse. Who knows? Some of I'm sure we've all had someone in our family that has had to experience, some sort of care where it was needed, some sort of assistance. So what if there was a way? So back to that question, what would you do if you had an illness? What if there was a way that where you could have in one thing cover all of these different things? Whether if we passed away too soon, that was that death benefit that would go to our family. Or if we live too long, well, we're growing our money 8 to 9% every single year. We're outpacing inflation, where we can have access to the money based on time and not on age. We don't have to wait to where we're age 59 and a half. We can create passive income from that earlier if we wanted to at 50 or 59, depending on how it's structured, or 55. Doesn't really matter to the age, just depends on how it's structured. And also to cover any sort of need, like long-term care need, that's all in one place. So we have this tax-free access to this cash. And so really appreciate you taking the time. Please get back with the individual that shared this video with you. Make a note of what you want to learn more about. What is it that you want to learn more about? We're here to help. Do you want to learn more about getting that passive or residual recurring type of income, in addition to what you're already doing? Do you want that? Do you want to learn more about the different products to create a pension? Maybe you want to learn more about that. Do you want to learn more about the final expenses with Everest? Do you want to learn more about the Index Universal Life? Maybe you want to learn about more than one thing. Think about what's important to you. Think about what would give you peace of mind and your loved ones peace of mind. So really appreciate you taking the time, and please reach out to the individual. Hope you took some great notes. I know you're going to have some questions, and it's okay. We're more than happy to answer those questions. Take care.